citrus, dates, and grapes, 3 times the size of the Temecula Valley. And it's also home to 14 operating quarries. But I'm not here tonight to talk about the mining activities where I live. However, I will say that they are well managed. They provide high quality jobs and revenue to our area. There are neighbors, there are colleagues, there are volunteers, there are community leaders, and we are glad to have them there. Instead, I want to talk about the basic public policy question that Councilman DeGar spoke on. He didn't think Temecula should accede to San Diego's demands for aggregate. I want to paraphrase his argument and say, why should we in the Coachella Valley continue to deplete our resources, thus limiting our future growth, our opportunities, because some communities are ill-advised? Why continue to rob our long-term capacity, create unnecessary truck traffic and emissions, and force continued expansion of new facilities, all for the benefit of just one part of Riverside County? I ask you to reject the hysteria, shun all the myths, and study the facts. I support this proposed project and urge you to recommend its approval for all of Riverside County. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Bennett? Okay, hold on just a second, we're going to reload there. William Smith, please come forward. And Roar, please come forward. Tom Jaywood, please come forward. And Don Yoder, please come forward. All right, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ray Bennett. I live on Yanez Road, right close to the 15. I'm very interested in the subject quarry. 101 years after the state...
Sorry, let me interrupt you a minute. I didn't realize you had a speaker slip attached to it. You actually will have 4 minutes if, looks like Gene Bennett
Yes.
is here.
Yes.
Is Gene here somewhere? Okay, thank you. All right, you get 4 minutes, sir. For those of you in the audience trying to get a visual presentation set up over here. I guess you don't get it.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ray Bennett. I live on Yanez Road in Temecula, right close to the 15, and I'm very interested in the subject quarry. 101 years after becoming a state in 1850, the state of California struck an ambitious program called the Feather River Project. It was recommended by a state water resources engineer by the name of A.D. Edmondson in 1951. Its goal was to provide water to Southern California. The Feather River Project covered several square miles, filling in valleys. They buried homes and farms underwater, built 13 dams, changed normal river patterns, and it cost some $2 billion, I understand. Meanwhile, we sit here today, quibbling about 135 acres of rocky, unusable ground that could provide yet another reservoir to provide future generations with water where is our vision? California's population is expected to grow by 19 million people by 2020. Urban annual net water demand is expected to grow from 6.8 to 10.5 million acre feet. Where will the water come from? Imports from Mono Lake tributaries, Owens Valley, and the Colorado River will be reduced, and limits on Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta exports would also further reduce water to the south coastal region. In the last couple of years, even with Diamond Lake Reservoir, water supplies to our avocado, orange, lemon growers and nurseries have been cut so badly as to drive many out of business. Like there's a grower here tonight that was cut 30%. Realtors tell me they can hardly give away avocado grows in Duluth. At my home, we pay to have our sprinkler system controlled by satellite in order to keep our water bill under control. The threat was 10 times. We have with this project the capability to provide a water supply. Following the removal of the granite, there will be a natural hole that can be filled with vital water for future generations. That lake will hold enough water to put a city the size of Temecula for 1 year, the size of Fallbrook, 2 years of water supply. We can leave a legacy just like those who conceived of the Feather River Project. Today we have water for Temecula, Murrieta, and Rainbow Canyon because generations prior to ours were willing to sacrifice and fill their valleys with water. Many lost their homes. Some were our Native American friends. But all were required to give to provide for those who would come later. Let us rise from our self-centeredness and self-interest and again be visionaries and wise in our decisions. Let us understand that we are responsible for providing an adequate water supply for future generations. Approve the project. Fill it with a lake that will provide water for wildlife, irrigation for our local farmers, and drinking water for our grandchildren and their children. Thank you.
You will destroy the wildlife! You destroy the wildlife! You destroy the Santa Margarita aquifer!
Escort that
You
gentleman
destroy it!
Escort him out of there, please.
You will destroy it! You will destroy the aquifer and the size of it! The size you marked! Look at the size of it! Think of all that you're going to take out! The size of it is huge! All that silicon got there is all the wildlife!
Well, I guess the talking wasn't so bad after all. Next person speaking is William Smith. William Smith here. William Smith is apparently not here. We'll put him in the queue for the next meeting. Ken Owen. Wow. Put him in the queue also. How about Tom Jacob? One of you must be.
Oh, I get to follow that. How fun. Hi, my name is Tom Jagland. I'm a fourth generation Californian. I've lived in Murrieta with my family since 1991. I have been a heavy equipment operator for over 20 years, and I've worked in the aggregate mining industry for the last 12 years. I think I'm like the only miner here. In this day and age, it's vitally important that rock quarries be good neighbors. It's just the way the population is. I worked at a quarry down in San Marcos, which is now Cal State San Marcos. We started that in 1985, and it's now a beautiful university. So I remember running bulldozers, looking down into people's backyards, but we made sure the water truck was right there and we took care of dust control. Granite's proposed quarry will be a state-of-the-art operation that will have more dust control measures in operation than any rock quarry in the region that I've ever seen. And I work for some of the biggest companies, Hanson, Vulcan, biggest ones in the country. Anyone who might have the privilege of being hired to work at this quarry stands to earn wages and benefits in excess of $80,000 a year. I don't know of any company in our area that is offering this opportunity to nearly 100 people. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Gilbert. just a minute, we'll reload. A relative, and that's probably Julie Gilman. Brian Carris, Brian. Adele Harrison, and Gary Harrison. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Don Gilbert. I'm a 20-year resident of the Temecula Valley, and I've worked for 25 years in the construction materials industry, mostly in sales, but at one time I was a Quarry operations manager for Quarry in Corona. I've heard a lot of theory and hyperbole. An environmental impact report is, they think what's going to happen. To me, you go up to Corona, there's 3 quarries operating up there. That's what's going to happen here. You can see it in real life. There's no giant silica cloud hanging over the area. There's ball fields and houses downwind from where that is. And the other thing, we're talking about all the truck trips. It doesn't matter how big the quarry is. The only thing that's going to have trucks driving around is the demand for aggregates. And as demand is lower, it'll be less. And if it gets busier than they can supply, there'll be more trucks on the road just to supply. And they won't be having to come all the way down from Corona. They will save truck miles. Just miles, it won't change any jobs because the amount of trucks you have is just how much needs to be hauled around. And the fellow, the Marine, that addressed the drilling and blasting, and thank him for his service, but he's not a mining expert. The drilling and blasting is done in a grid, depending on the type of material you're going to be blasting. You drill a hole at a certain depth, a certain size, and put a minimum charge in there to just barely dislodge the material, and then it can be taken out by front loaders or a shovel. It isn't that blasts it up in the air. They could go up to Corona, and for a couple of days, watch what goes on up there. They wouldn't even notice the drill and blasting portion. So that's the real part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Julie Gilbert.
Hello, Commissioners. The scenarios of dust, disease, and destruction that we've heard painted by the Quarry opponents are indeed frightening. There's just one problem. They're complete fiction. They are emotionally based suppositions, not facts. So we have a list of doctors who are concerned that residents may contract silicosis from the quarry. What is the expertise of these doctors about mining operations? None. Silica may cause silicosis, but it doesn't automatically follow that this mining operation will introduce silica into the air in such a way that will cause it. Supposition is not evidence. Numerous quarries have been operating for decades in local areas with no studies showing increased incidence of silicosis. If the disease was caused by quarries, such studies would exist. Underscoring the ludicrousness of their claim is the fact that silica is the main component of sand. How many of these concerned doctors have advised their patients not to go to the beach? How many studies show that people living near the beach suffer an increased incidence of silicosis? None. And beaches are probably the most notoriously windy environment that you can find. I support Liberty Quarry because I stand up for what I believe is right. And this is a clear case of right and wrong. It's a case of following the law. It is not a popularity contest. The quarry property has been zoned for mining for longer than Temecula's been a city. Granite purchased this property because of that zoning, and they fulfilled the arduous and expensive requirements established by the county to obtain a permit. The EIR repudiated and covered all the possible impacts that we heard about tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, if a company successfully fulfills that process and then is denied anyway, why did you establish the process? This isn't the American way. It isn't right, it's not fair, and I hope you'll follow your own law, do the right thing, and approve Granite's permit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Brian Carris.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm not here to tell you anything you don't already know. I'm not going to teach you anything new that you haven't already mentioned. But I am here to say that I have lived up and down the state and have recently moved back down south, and temporarily in Temecula. And I'm in escrow right now to live in this beautiful community of Temecula. And we'll be moving here with my family, my wife, and my 2 amazing children in July. And I look forward to spending quality time in this beautiful city. The parks, the schools, everything, everybody behind me has mentioned is amazing. And I'm looking forward to spending many, many years here. And I do support the quarry. I don't see, there's nothing, when you look at all the facts, there's nothing at all wrong with what is being proposed. And I look forward to also bringing my children to the quarry, if at all possible, so they can learn about the truth behind quarries and the quarry operations. So I am absolutely in support of this quarry. Thank you.
Thank you. Adele Harrison?
Yes, my name is Adele Harrison. I live as close to the quarry as anyone, just south of Red Hawk. I've lived in the Temecula Fallbrook area since 1988. I taught in Temecula for 16 years, and I've been retired for about 6 years now. I am a retired teacher and a grandmother. And I believe what the granite presentation said, that the quarry will not be seen, felt, or heard in Temecula, Fallbrook, or Rainbow. And it will bring new jobs, cleaner air, less truck traffic, and more revenue to our area. I wouldn't support a project if I thought it would ruin our community, endanger my property value, or put my children and grandchildren at risk. Liberty Quarry would not only add millions of dollars in tax revenue, but it would also provide funding directly to the state teachers' retirement fund, which I understand was a surprise to you. And since I'm a retired teacher, I have a stake in that. I think we owe it to our teachers to make sure that they're taken care of in their later years, and revenues from mining at Liberty Quarry will support the retirement fund for our teachers. I think it's a shame that legitimate businesses like Liberty Quarry have to spend so much time and expense to build anything. And that's why all of our private industry is moving out and our state is going broke. This quarry is not going to impact the residents of Temecula, and there are too many benefits that we cannot afford to pass up. Please vote in support of this project, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Gary Harrison? Give me this a minute. Mary Ann Shishan Miller, please come up. On deck. Max Miller on deck. Gregory Melvin. No. Okay. And Lon Dillon on deck. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Gary Harrison. I've lived in the Temecula area for over 20 years. I live just south of Red Hawk, as you may know by now. And I support the quarry. I've examined the facts, gathered the information, toured quarries, and listened to the opposition. I know that I will not hear, feel, or see the quarry after it is established. Enclosed processing equipment, movement of aggregate, and enclosed conveyors, and a paved quarry processing area will mitigate the dust. Throughout the area, dirt roads, plowing and disking on farms without dust control should be of greater concern. The EIR on table 3.2-17 showed the on-site emissions of PM10 from Liberty Quarry would be 17.9 tons a year. On table 3.2-7, the annual emissions of the 7-mile stretch of I-15 through my city are 181 tons a year, or 10 times the quarry emissions. Unpaved roads within SMER are 18 tons a year, the same as the quarry. Table 3.2-7 show that Camp Pendleton produces 7,040 tons of PM10 a year, or 391 times the quarry. I worked for the past 22 years at a plant that uses 12 tons of open silica sand at all times in their processes in a 50,000 square foot building. So I have hundreds of times more exposure to silica particles of all sizes than anyone in this area can possibly get from the quarry. I've had it for extensive length of times. I've never suffered a respiratory ailment. That's only anecdotal, but it is a fact. I'll be happy to give anyone information to contact my doctors, see if I have any respiratory problems.
Okay, your time has run out. Please write it up.
Please give priority to the facts over the hysteria and the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Shoshone-Miller.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm in favor of Liberty Quarry. And what I have to start with is the United States attracts immigrants from all over the world. And you say, why? It's because we are a nation of laws. You and I rely on these laws every day.